I've always trusted my husband, Nathan. He's my best friend, my partner in everything. We've been together for over 9 years, married for 6. It's been a steady, predictable kind of life. I'm not complaining. We've built something solid together. 2 kids, a home, a future. Our relationship had its challenges, but nothing that seemed impossible to work through. Or so I thought. A few months ago, I started noticing little changes in Nathan's behavior. Nothing major, just small things that didn't add up. He'd get home from work later than usual, but when I'd ask him about it, he'd always have a perfectly reasonable explanation. He'd be more distracted when we were together, his mind elsewhere, like he was preoccupied with something I wasn't a part of. At first, I brushed it off. Stress, I told myself. Work. Life. It was nothing worth worrying about. But I was wrong. It started when I decided to clean the attic. It wasn't a big task, just going through some old boxes, deciding what to keep, what to throw away. The attic had become a bit of a dumping ground for years, and I figured it was time to organize it. While I was rummaging through a box of old clothes and keepsakes, I found something odd, an old, heavy safe tucked away behind some forgotten furniture. It wasn't something I had ever seen before, and it piqued my curiosity. It wasn't locked, but it had a combination lock on it. That was strange. Nathan had never mentioned it, and I figured he would have told me if he had a safe, especially one tucked away so discreetly. I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling that washed over me. I didn't want to start imagining things, but something inside me told me I had to see what was inside. I didn't know why, I just did. I spent the next few hours trying to open the safe. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but there was something so compelling about it. After a lot of trial and error, I finally managed to get it open. My heart was pounding as I slowly pulled the door open. Inside, there was a collection of things, old documents, some jewelry, a few random mementos, but what caught my attention were the letters. At first, I thought they were old love letters from before we were together, something Nathan had kept as a memory of his past. But when I opened the first one, my stomach dropped. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The letter was filled with words of affection, longing, and promises of a future together. I froze, my fingers trembling as I held the letter in my hands. I think about you every day. Every moment apart is a lifetime. I can't wait to see you again. I love you more than you know. Forever we will be. My mind raced as I read it. Who was this person? Who was Nathan writing to? The words felt intimate, personal. They weren't just a casual note, they were heartfelt, full of deep emotions. I continued reading, my heart pounding harder with each letter I opened. And that's when I realized it wasn't just one letter. There were dozens of them, carefully tucked away, each one more intimate than the last. The woman's name was Sophie, and from what I could gather, they had been exchanging these letters for months. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My mind was spinning. How could Nathan have kept this secret from me? How could he have been so close to someone else? While I was sitting here, thinking everything was fine, the more I read, the more I found references to trips they had planned, moments they had shared, and promises of a future together. There was no ambiguity in the words. This was a relationship. This was cheating. The most crushing part was that the letters didn't just seem like fleeting moments of passion. They felt like something deeper, something Nathan had invested in. There were mentions of a future together, plans to live in a different city, to build a life away from everything. And I was kept in the dark. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, and I felt as though the room was closing in around me. I had trusted Nathan with everything, and now I was holding the evidence of his betrayal in my hands. My husband, the man I had built my life with, had been hiding a secret relationship from me. And not just any relationship, a relationship so deep that it had been hidden in plain sight. For months, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to process what I had just discovered. I wanted to confront him, but the idea of hearing him lie to me again, of him trying to justify this, trying to explain it away, was too much. I wanted answers, but I didn't want to hear his excuses. I didn't want to hear him tell me that I was overreacting or that I was imagining things. I needed to think. I needed to decide what to do next. The letters were evidence, undeniable. Proof that Nathan had been lying to me, but they didn't tell me everything. They didn't explain why he'd done it, how long it had been going on, or what he felt for Sophie. I couldn't just make assumptions. I needed the truth. I spent the next few hours pacing back and forth in the house, the weight of everything crashing down on me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the letters in his face and demand answers. But I also wanted to pretend none of this had happened. I wanted to go back to a time before this moment, when I thought my marriage was solid, when I thought I could trust Nathan with everything. But that wasn't possible. The truth had been revealed, and there was no going back. When Nathan came home later that evening, he was as calm as ever, his usual smile on his face. But I could see it. The moment he saw me sitting there, his smile faltered. He knew something was wrong. He could feel the tension in the air, and he could tell by the way I was looking at him that everything had changed. "Anna," he asked, his voice hesitant. "What's going on? You seem off." I stood up slowly, my hands shaking as I held the letters in my hands. "What is this, Nathan?" I asked, my voice calm but full of an underlying fury that I couldn't suppress. "Why didn't you tell me about Sophie? Why didn't you tell me you've been hiding a relationship from me?" His face paled as he saw the letters in my hands, the evidence of his betrayal. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. He was caught. There was no excuse, no justification, no way to deny it. "I can explain," he finally said, his voice shaky. "It's not what you think." But I had already read the letters. I had already seen the truth. "Not what I think," I repeated, my voice rising. "You've been hiding this from me, Nathan. You've been having an affair, and you've been planning a future with her. How long has this been going on?" He didn't answer right away. He just stood there, his face filled with shame. "I'm sorry," he said, finally, his voice breaking. "I never wanted this to happen. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "You hurt me in a way I can't even explain. You broke my trust. You broke our family. And for what?" "I didn't know how to stop," he said, his voice full of regret. "I got caught up in it, and I couldn't figure out how to let go of Sophie without losing you too. I was selfish, Anna. And I'm so sorry." The words didn't reach me. They felt empty, like hollow apologies designed to make him feel better, not to make things right. I couldn't hear him anymore. I couldn't listen to his explanations, because nothing would change the fact that he had betrayed me. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Nathan," I whispered, my voice full of anguish. "I don't know if I can look at you and not see the lies." "I'll do anything," he said, his voice pleading. "I love you, Anna. You're the only one I want. Please, don't leave me." But I couldn't promise him anything. I couldn't tell him that I'd stay, or that we'd work through this. Everything had changed. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't move forward without some answers. And I didn't know if I could ever forgive him. "I need time," I said softly. "I need space to figure this out. I don't know what I want, Nathan. But I can't make any decisions right now." "Not yet." He nodded, his face a mix of desperation and regret. "I understand," he said quietly. "I'll wait for you. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." But I didn't know if it could be fixed. I didn't know if I could ever go back to the life we had before. The man I had loved, the man I had trusted with everything, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I didn't know if I could ever look at him the same way again. I turned away from him and walked out of the room, my heart heavy with uncertainty. The next few days passed in a haze. I moved through my routine, but nothing felt real anymore. I couldn't seem to find my footing. I'd wake up, go through the motions, but it was like I was trapped in a fog, unable to see clearly. How was I supposed to make sense of what had happened? I didn't know who I was supposed to be, his wife, trying to hold on to the life we had built, or a woman who had just discovered that everything she knew had been a lie. I spent hours thinking about what Jason had said to me. "I love you, Anna. You're the only one I want. But those words meant nothing now. How could they, after everything? How could he claim to love me when he had been living a secret life, lying to me every day? He had promised me forever, but forever meant nothing if it was built on lies. I stayed at Rachel's for a few days, needing to escape the house. I couldn't bear to be in that space where every corner reminded me of the betrayal, every room carrying the weight of the lies. Rachel was a quiet presence, never asking too many questions, but always offering comfort. When I needed it, I told her everything: the discovery of the letters, the shock of realizing that Nathan had been living a double life, the way I had found him in the same house, pretending nothing had changed. Rachel didn't judge me, didn't tell me what to do. She just listened, and that was what I needed. I couldn't talk to anyone else about it, not yet. I wasn't ready to face my friends, not when I didn't even know how I felt about everything. As the days passed, I started to feel a sense of clarity, though it was mixed with an overwhelming sense of pain. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. I didn't know if I could ever look at Nathan the same way again. I didn't know if I could rebuild the trust he had destroyed. But I also didn't know if I was ready to walk away. The thought of ending my marriage, of telling my children that their father and I weren't together anymore, was suffocating. The idea of starting over was terrifying. But something had shifted. I had changed. The woman who stood in that kitchen, staring at Nathan, was different from the woman I had been just days ago. I couldn't go back to pretending that everything was fine. I couldn't stay in a marriage where I wasn't truly seen, where I was kept in the dark. So, I went back to our house. Nathan was sitting on the couch when I walked in, the familiar space now feeling foreign. He looked at me with those familiar eyes, but they were filled with anxiety and fear. He stood up when he saw me, but I didn't move toward him. I needed distance. I needed time to process everything that had happened before I could even think about what came next. "Anna," he said softly, his voice filled with desperation. "Please talk to me. Please let me explain everything." I shook my head, holding up my hand. "I don't need you to explain, Nathan. I've already read the letters. I know everything. I don't know what to do now." "I've made the biggest mistake of my life," he said, his voice pleading. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to lose you. I love you, Anna. I swear I do. Please, don't let this destroy us." I took a deep breath, my chest tightening as I fought to hold it together. "You've been living a lie for months, Nathan. You've been lying to me every day. And you think you can just apologize, and everything will go back to normal? How am I supposed to trust you again? I know I've broken everything," he said quietly, his voice full of sorrow. "But I swear, and I'll do anything to make it right. I'll make up for what I've done. I don't want to lose you." "You already have lost me," I whispered, the words cutting me more than I could ever have imagined. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to admit it, but I couldn't lie to myself anymore. How do I go back to the way things were? How do I go back to trusting you after everything you've hidden from me? He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand again, stopping him. "No, Nathan. You don't get to do this. You don't get to manipulate me into staying just because you feel guilty. I need to figure this out. I need space." He looked like he had been punched in the gut. His face crumbled with the weight of my words. "I understand," he said softly, his voice broken. "I'll give you all the space you need. But please, no, I'll wait. I'll wait for as long as it takes. I love you, Anna." I nodded, the tears welling in my eyes again, but I refused to let them fall. I couldn't let him see me break. "I need time to think," I said, my voice quiet. "I need to figure out what I want, what I deserve. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Nathan. I don't know if I can ever go back to what we had. But I can't make any decisions right now. I just need some space." "I'll wait," he repeated, his voice filled with desperation. "Please, Anna, don't leave me. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." I turned and walked away, not looking back at him. The house felt empty as I walked out of the room, each step heavier than the last. I felt as if I were suffocating under the weight of it all. The life we had built, The love, the trust, had been shattered in a way that I wasn't sure could ever be repaired. I stayed at Rachel's again, unable to return home. I couldn't face the thought of staying in that house, surrounded by the memories of a life I thought was real, a life that had been built on lies. But even at Rachel's, I felt no peace. I felt lost. The pain was consuming, and the weight of the decision I had to make felt unbearable. Could I forgive him? Could I trust him again? Could I rebuild my life with him? Or was it time to let go and start over? Every time I thought I had an answer, the doubt crept back in. How could I rebuild trust after it had been destroyed so completely? How could I move on from someone who had been lying to me for so long? And yet, the thought of leaving him was equally terrifying. I had given him everything. We had built a family together. We had been through so much. Could I really walk away from that? Could I really give up on my marriage and the future I thought we were building? I spent the next few days in turmoil, trying to make sense of everything. I reached out to a therapist, someone I could talk to without judgment, someone who could help me process all of the emotions I was feeling. I needed help. I needed clarity. I couldn't make this decision on my own. And then there were the kids. How could I tell them that their father and I were separating? How would this affect them? I didn't have answers for any of these questions. At some point, I realized that I couldn't keep living in limbo. I couldn't stay in a state of constant doubt, constantly questioning everything about my life. I needed answers, but more than that, I needed peace. I needed to know if I could move forward, whether that meant staying with Nathan or walking away. I went back to the house one last time, knowing I had to face him again, knowing I had to make a choice. This time, I wasn't going to walk away without knowing what I wanted. I wasn't going to live in this space of uncertainty any longer. I walked into the living room, and Nathan was waiting for me as I expected. His face was full of hope, but also fear. He knew what was coming. He knew the weight of the decision that hung between us. "I've had time to think," I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. "And I know now that I can't stay in this relationship if it means living with the lies. I can't be with someone who has kept such a big secret from me, no matter how much I love them." His face fell, and I could see the tears welling up in his eyes. "Anna, please, don't leave me. I will do anything to fix this. I swear I will change. I will prove to you that I love you. Please." "I don't know if you can change, Nathan," I said quietly. "But I know that I can't keep living like this. I need to be able to trust the person I'm with. And right now, I don't know if I can ever trust you again." He stood there, silent, as if the words had knocked the air out of him. "I understand," he said. Finally, his voice broken. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never meant for this to happen." "I know," I whispered, "but it did. And now we have to face the consequences." And just like that, everything changed.